A hearty welcome everyone back to Taraka Railways, and today we're going to look at a very special locomotive once again in the LMS range, and this is part of the LMS Rollout Volume 5, and this is none other than the Class 4P 264 tank model R2635, and that's the Stanier locomotive. Now looking at the box, we can see a beautiful illustration of a Hornby on the box here, and it seemed to promise so much fun. And now looking on the side of the box, we'll see its model code R2635 by Hornby, Lms Stanier 4M2 2640 Class 4P locomotive. And on the back of the box we normally have the history and the illustration of the Loco, also very nicely done in its true character back in the heydays. And now catching a glimpse of the Loco on the layout, we start from the front of the Loco, where we can see the bogie, the front bogie, and the sprung buffers, and the vacuum pipe, and the buffer beam, and the smoke box, and the 3 lantern pumps. And also here on the front of the Loco of the smoke box, we have the number nicely applied. And just behind and below the chimney, all the pipeworks are fitted and painted, which is also a great finish. And of course the red lining surrounding the boilers. And the steam chest has got no lining. And on the side, the red lining as well as the LMS paint name on the side is nicely applied, and the numbering below the cab door is also nicely applied. Now on the rear we can catch a glimpse of the number as well as the handrails and the buffer beams and the coal bunk. And obviously on the coal bunker we can see the red lining and rivets, and just again the number on the side of the coal bunker, and handrails are visible. And then just again below the cab, these steps, we've got separately fitted piping and also pipework fittings in front, and the handrails and more pipework as I mentioned. And at the water tank, quite a lot of details also on top of the Loco, and in front of the cab again, modern whistle on top, and the safety valves, and they are metal, nice detail fitted there. And then featuring glazed cab windows, and on top of the cab we have the opening hatches that are movable, and obviously you can see better if you light if you open that up, it brings out light in the cab and you can see the detail better. And so definitely amazing, despite being a older version of the locomotives. And despite being the fact that it is an enclosed cab, it's still, the finishes are amazing inside the cab. Okay, so now going into our favorite part of the episode, where we delve into the history of this locomotive. So as we established, it is in BR black livery and based on the 2-cylinder, and I think this Hornby model is a 2010 packaging and model number 2635 or 2635, and that is locomotive number 2546, and it's got a class 4P description. So Sir William Stanier's London, Midland and Scottish Railway LMS class 4P 2-cylinder 264T was a class of 206 steam locomotives built between 1935 and 1943. They were based on his LMS 3-cylinder 264T design. So numbers 2545 up to 2600 was built at North British Locomotive Company. So this locomotive we have today on the layout is part of the LMS 2618 numbering up to 2651, and they were British Railways 42618 numbers up to 42651, lot number 144, built in 1938 at Derby Works under designer William Stanier, and the builders were LMS Derby Works. 103 locomotives were built, and at North British Locomotive Company 73 units were built. between 1935 and 1943, so the total of locomotives that were built is 206. Locomotive 2429 had a starring role as Senior Johnson's branch line engine in the 1945 film Brief Encounter. Please see attached images. And on the history on the back of the box of the locomotive, also with Hornby's reproduction of the locomotive in model form, it says there, Hornby would like to thank Mr. Bob Ethery and the LMS Journal for their kind assistance in the production of this model. That is very nice as well. The two-cylinder 4P264T class consisted of 206 steam engines, that's 206 steam engines, built between 1935 and 1943, as previously stated, for the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. 133 were produced by the Derby Works, with a further 73 by the North British Locomotive Company, Hyde Park's Works, as previously mentioned. Redesigned by Sir Lms Stanier whilst he was Chief Mechanical Engineer for London, Midland and Scottish Railway, the two-cylinder 4P264Ts were based on Sir Henry Fowler's 1927 three-cylinder 264T design. Stanier's alterations included tapered boilers, outside steam pipes, an increase in the size of the superheater, firstly to 18 elements and later to 21 elements, and on improved design and construction method for the side tanks and bunker, which gave drivers more visibility when running bunker first. So when running bunker first, that was definitely then a more visibility for the drivers, which really helped and assisted them. Improvements were also made to the axle boxes and spring gear. Stanier's design left intact the original wheelbase dimensions, despite the coupled wheels being only 5 to 9 in diameter. C.E. Fairbairn made an alteration to this particular element of the design in 1943, which then allowed the engines to negotiate tighter curves. Weighing over 87 tons, these locomotives had a coal capacity of 3.5 tons and a boiler pressure of 200 psi. They had on more than one occasion been timed at 90 miles per hour. These engines were used mainly on passenger services out of Euston and the Birmingham, Manchester, Stoke, Leeds and West Scotland areas. They proved to be economical and efficient locomotives, although due to their limited brake power, care was needed when used with unbraked freight trains on steep downward gradients. Stanier's version became the basis of the British Railways prototype. LMS initially used a black with red lining livery for these locomotives, but throughout World War II and beyond, any repaints omitted the red lining, and British Rail later used the standard mixed traffic livery of black with red, grey and cream lining and reclassified them as 4MT. The two-cylinder locomotives were all withdrawn from service between 1960 and 1967. None were preserved. LMS number 2546 was built in 1936, our Loco we have here on the layout today, at the North British Locomotive Company in Scotland and scrapped in 1967. Now, something I don't normally do is report on accidents, and I've just highlighted one that I wanted to mention. On 15 August 1953, locomotive number 42474 was hauling a passenger train which collided with an electric multiple unit that overran signals at Irk Valley Junction, Manchester, Lancashire. The junction is an viaduct, and one of the carriages of the electric multiple unit plunged 40 feet, 12 meters into the River Irk. 10 people were killed and 58 injured. And with all these locomotives, there's a lot of accidents that are noted, and I think a lot in with the withdrawals of the locomotives back in the day. It also actually meant that the government was actually doing something for the people to stop further, any incidents in the future. So made it easier for them to find an excuse, I think, to scrap the locomotives. But that's just my opinion. So there you have it. Overall, a very nice locomotive. And like I said, I had inherited from my parents and from my brothers and my grandfather some of the Triang and Hornby Double versions of this locomotive back in the heyday, and also had to sell off what I was not using. So I'm very glad that this one was still part of the collection, and it was looked after very well. So thank goodness to the family for that. A lot of the locomotives are very good condition that I still have, and like I said, it makes me feel closer to the family. And however romanticized it might seem to some people, and I've had some trolls on my channel jumping up and subscribing and jumping off and unsubscribing and saying some rude things, but I guess if you're on YouTube, you will also always have that. And to the trolls out there, I do not care what you say about me, and I live my hobby and I live my life. I cannot waste any second on this nonsense. So having said that, everyone, I think this is part of the hobby, as we also learned in a recent episode of Jenny Cook. She also said they had a lot of trolls, and sometimes they just bump into them again at a later stage in life, and then all of a sudden they open up and they have conversations about the locos and the hobby and that, and then they say, but you know what, I didn't like a woman coming into the industry or coming into the hobby, and so I said a lot of mean things or whatever, and then you would not even remember it by then. So whatever, I don't even remember, but I'm glad you're enjoying the hobby, because that's what it's all about. And again, I say, be kinder to the person next to you. That is my message to the world. The world is upside down currently. There is comets flying. There is meteors coming down over Jeffreys Bay in South Africa. We had sudden snowfall, which is unusual. There's a lot of mad things going on in the world, and the war, and people unhappy, and people trying to force their ways and changing people's lifestyles. There's a lot going on. So if we, with our hobbies, and we know what is good in life, and we cherish the good values, and that's why we're doing the hobby. Well, that's what I'm doing. So if you are in the same boat, please join me, and let's fight these trolls, and let's fight the crime, and let's show the world how we can make this a better place without killing and hating each other. So that is my message to you. And once again, time is short, and life is just so special. Every minute, every second. Appreciate it, love one another, and enjoy the hobby. And don't let anybody stop you from doing the hobby. No matter what you do, you can have the smallest little layout, you can have the oldest locomotives in the world, and you might not be presentable for a YouTube channel, but if that is what you want to do it and just enjoy it, and do it with all your heart like I am. I love the classics, and with my Lions connection, my family, the Lionses from the UK, coming to South Africa, I've got lots of history of British information, and my family comes back, like my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother are all both from the UK. So having said that, even though I'm in South Africa now, it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy my hobby, and it doesn't mean that I don't need to do British trains, I of course have British ancestry history, so I'm holding on to that. So I'm holding on to the hobby, and I'm trying to show people out there and people that are new to the hobby that this is a great hobby to get into. And please support me in this. Thanks everyone. You take care. Lots of love. My dog is barking outside for attention. So I need to finish up my last video, and see you guys next time. Thanks for your support. Take care. All my best. Regards, Elizabeth.